Welcome to Accotink Unitarian Universalist Church live stream worship service. I'm Judy Robinson, your worship associate for today, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. Accotink UU Church is a welcoming and inclusive community that seeks to create a more just and compassionate world through our actions to bring about justice and by honoring the web of nature of which we are a part. All are welcome here, no matter whom you love, no matter your identity or heritage, no matter your beliefs or background, no matter your means or gifts. You are welcome here in this religious community. If you're new to Accotink and would like to talk more about this church, please be sure to reach out to me, to our minister, Reverend Pippin, or to a member of the board. Contact information is located on our website at www.accotinkuu.org. On our website, you can check the online order of service on the worship section of the webpage. While you're on the website, be sure to check our events page for upcoming virtual gatherings and other news. I now invite you to close your other windows or apps and devices, take a deep breath, and center yourself for worship. As we were gathering, we heard our musical guests who will be leading today's service. I'm very happy to introduce them as the modern folk duo, Friction Farm, the husband and wife team of Aidan, Quinn, and Christine Stay. These traveling troubadours combine storytelling, social commentary, and humor to create songs of everyday life, local heroes, and quirky observations. They sing about small acts of kindness, big dreams of change, and mostly about personal responsibility. From ballads to anthems, each song is filled with harmony and hope. I got to know them at some UU camps I attended, and I'm a big fan, so I welcome them now to Accotink.
Thank you, and good morning. We are closing a month of exploring compassion today on the anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising, amid scores of Black Lives Matter demonstrations. How do we move forward from supporting a series of events to living a life of compassionate support? It's complicated. The cumulative way in which the effects of multiple forms of discrimination, racism, sexism, classism, combine and overlap and intersect, especially in the experiences of marginalized groups. Is your heart big enough to take it all in? Come, let us worship today.
As we begin, I invite you to join me and light your own chalices at home with these words by Paul Sprecher. We light this chalice in memory of the courage of those who have struggled for freedom, the persistence of those who have struggled for justice, and the love of those who've built beloved communities to carry on the light of hope.
So this morning's story for all ages is actually a song for all ages. You know, new things are going to happen every day. How will you know what to do? How will you be prepared to do the right things? Well, maybe if you read stories or tell your own stories and imagine situations that you might be in, you can imagine what you might do. What would you do if you knew there were no happy endings? Maybe one or two, a few, but oh, no guarantees. Would you still be brave, trying to save a princess in danger? Tell me the story of what you would do. Tell me a story, because stories are light. Some words are like magic, darkness bright. So tell me a story to last through the night. What would you say if one day you heard voices taunting? Not a game you play, but in a very mean way, trying to make someone sad. Would you be heard? Say a friendly word to a boy being bullied. Tell me the story of what you would say. Tell me a story, because stories are light. Some words are like magic. They make darkness bright. So tell me a story to last through the night. Who will you be when you see someone sitting alone? Smile happily, offer company, or see what others do first. Will you try to find ways to be kind to the new kid in school? Tell me the story of what you will be. Tell me a story, because stories are light. Some words are like magic. They make darkness bright. So tell me a story to last through the night.
Hello, this is Christina Watts, your board host, and I am here today for the last time as a board member. One of the things that I love about Accotink has been the support and encouragement that I've received from all of you over the past 2 years as your congregational president. It's been a busy, challenging 2 terms, and serving you has been one of the most gratifying experiences of my life. I'm excited to see how the congregation continues to grow and change in the years ahead. Please remember that the board of directors was elected to represent you, our members. So if you ever have any questions or concerns, please do reach out to Jan Forsyth, our next board president, or any of the board members. Their names are listed on our website. Or you can attend one of their meetings because they're open to all. So, Unitarian Universalist congregations thrive on the generosity of members and friends. We are a free faith with no central funding source. And so we take this time in our worship service to express gratitude for the many gifts of this community, be they time, talent, or treasure. We also exist in an interdependent community and are joyful to share with our neighbors. In June, we share our financial gifts with the Northern Virginia Therapeutic Riding Program. This organization helps individuals realize their highest potential by providing equine-assisted activities to people with disabilities, youth at risk, recovering military personnel, and others. I invite you now to join in a practice of generosity. The order of service and the website have a donate button where you can give to the offering. You may give online or by mailed check, giving as you are able to this loving and inspiring community, and giving also to our community partners who need us in this time. Thank you.
Sometimes it feels like all you have is hope. You wished on birthday candles, stars, and on the moon. None of your wishes has come true. But I believe at this time they do. Because Wasn't there a time when neighbors stopped to help and to hand or shared a bit when you needed some? If you cried out, somebody would come. Didn't matter where you came from, because you're here now and are here now. Stand tall, reach deep, find strength in the company you keep. One friend is how we start. I will hold your hope in my heart. Some people have forgotten how that works. Did the wisdom of the ages get locked away? They say who should go and who should stay. I believe we can change that today, because you're here now and I'm here now. Stand tall, reach deep, find strength in the company you keep. One friend is how we start. I will hold your hope in my heart. Yes, I will hold your hope in my heart. This morning's prayer are the words of the Reverend Tanya Marquez from the First UU of San Diego. Do not fear agitation, for agitation is the rhythm of life itself. To be put into motion, to be stirred. Do not fear the movements that decenter what you always thought permanent. You carry within the center of your understanding the compass to show you the way. Carry with you the love that will hold you, the vision that will guide you, the relationships to all beings, and the world that will ground you. Go in peace and in gentle agitation to stir this world to the side of love.
Hi, I'm Kate McDivitt from True Accotink Colors, and I prefer not to have pronouns. 51 years ago today, there was a raid on the Stonewall Inn, a bar in New York's Greenwich Village, catering to a rainbow of LGBTQ plus patrons. Raids such as these were not uncommon, but on that night, the patrons fought back for the first time. They'd been doing nothing wrong, and so they resisted being asked to show their identification and resisted arrest. The police never expected members of this community to fight against the discrimination and injustices they faced. Rioting continued on Christopher Street for 6 days, and from that a movement was born. Activist organizations were created, including the Gay Liberation Front and the Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, which was started by one of the drag queens of color involved in Stonewall. And 1 year later, after many passionate demonstrations, proud declarations, and pushback against society's conventions, exactly 50 years ago today, the first ever Pride March was held. Those of us in True Accotink Colors, our LGBTQ plus social justice group, would like to share the lighting of a candle today with you all to help us honor the countless individuals at Stonewall who spoke up for the right to be free to be themselves. Their sudden, unexpected bravery and show of pride was a stone being thrown into a pond, and we're still seeing those ripples in the water today as we gain more rights and legal protections for people of all gender and sexual orientations. But there's still much more to do to become a society that is educated, accepting, and compassionate. Here at Accotink, True Accotink Colors is working toward that within our community, and we welcome any of you who want to join us, no matter how you identify. If you'd like to hear more about True Accotink Colors and discuss this week's question to ponder with us, you'll have an opportunity during coffee hour after the service. If you'd like to find out more and get involved with the group, please check out our webpage on the AUUC webpage. And if you'd like to learn more about Stonewall, I highly recommend stonewallforever.org, which allows you to interactively explore the monument virtually, watch a documentary, navigate the history, and read hundreds of firsthand accounts from the LGBTQ+ community, past and present. 4 years ago this week, President Barack Obama declared the site of the Stonewall Uprising to be the first ever national monument to LGBT rights, in order for our national parks to reflect the full story of our country. I'd like to share a quote of his from his inauguration that inspires me today. "We, the people, declare today that the most evident of truths, that all of us are created equal, is the star that guides us still, just as it guided our forebears through Seneca Falls and Selma and Stonewall."
If you knew there was no heaven, would you still be kind? If you knew there was no hell, would you change your mind? It's not a question of faith or the way that you believe. It's who you are down deep. So make your mind up before your time's up. You don't have time to waste, because the end of the world is never far away. When they're pounding on my door, when they're calling out my name, will you stand by me or deny that we're the same till the moment of truth? You never really know. But if you mean to stare down trouble, maybe that's the side you'll show. So get your plans made before it's too late. You don't have time to waste, because the end of the world is never far away. When he takes you in his arms, what color will you be? Angry flame red or pure white mercy? The angel always knows on your very last day. If your whole life was bright or gray, so get your soul right before your last flight. You don't have time to waste, because the end of the world, the end of the world, the end of the world is never far away. The world is changing a little bit every day, sometimes a lot in a day. The world as we know it is always ending. Are you ready? I am a person of words, and I have always enjoyed that the word compass is contained within the word compassion. To exercise our compassion, we need to be mindful of which way we're heading. And we need some tools to keep us moving in the right direction. What direction does your heart lead you? How do you know you're going the right way? Is your heart open and listening? 10 years ago, Aidan and I lived at 102 Christopher Street in the West Village neighborhood of New York City. And the Stonewall Inn had been at number 51 and 53, just a block away. It was hard for me to imagine a time when gay folks, trans folks, bisexual folks, and label-defying folks were not a part of the fabric of life in the West Village. Every day on my street, all manner of people walked the sidewalks, just living their lives. 40 years earlier, a riot in the streets following a police raid had birthed a movement. That created the vibe where I lived. And in an unplanned moment, a group of people decided they were tired of being told they couldn't dance together. They were tired of worrying that they would lose their jobs if an employer learned that they were gay. And they were tired of fearing they would lose family and friends if anyone learned they were transvestites, as was the term of the times. Well, they finally said no, and the cops were furious. As one New York City native and longtime gay rights activist, Bob Kohler, said, everybody had rioted, but the fairies were not supposed to riot. The uprising spurred the founding of a gay newspaper in New York City and the formation of gay rights there and across the country, gay rights groups. Now, while the LGBTQ rights movement is too complex in history to say that that one event was a turning point, people who were there said that Stonewall felt different than things that came before, and that part of that feeling was a realization that they were a community. It was historic in the large number of participants, the length of the uprising, and that it got widespread media attention. This kind of sounding familiar? Now, another small thing happened. The park outside the Stonewall was a place where homeless or displaced young people hung out. And for the most part, those kids weren't LGBT or Q, but that community had been accepting of them. And so when the fists began to fly, the kids stepped up for their community. Next door, at number 55, folk musician Dave Von Ronk was playing, and he stepped out to see what was going on. He had participated in anti-war demonstrations, and he saw parallels in the police violence. He later wrote, "As far as I was concerned, anybody who'd stand against the cops was all right with me, and that's why I stayed. Every time you turned around, the cops were pulling some outrage or another." He got arrested that night. Now, Von Ronk wasn't gay, but like the homeless kids, he saw this as part of his community. This community formed not just by the accident of geography or obvious similarity, but by digging a little deeper with open eyes and open hearts by choice. Well, fast forward 40 years. I was walking home from the post office, and it was a dreary day and the sidewalks were empty. I stood on the corner of Hudson and Christopher waiting for the light to change. And I saw a woman walking towards the opposite corner. 6 feet tall, 4-inch heels, full makeup, definitely a part of my neighborhood. Behind her were 2 young men. And I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I didn't need to hear. From their swagger, their expressions, I knew. The light changed and I crossed the street, arriving at the corner at the same time as she did. And I looked her in the eye and said hello. Normally I would have kept walking. It was just a half a block to home. But I stayed on the corner. "I'm thinking of getting a bagel at Hudson," I said to her. as the young man reached the corner. And she glanced down at me. So I kept talking. I've already had breakfast, so I don't really need a bagel. And she smiled, while I thought, this is the longest light ever. And also wondered, when did I get so bad at small talk? The boys were quiet, but they were still close by. She laughed. If you don't need it, you have a choice. Mercifully, the light changed, and I walked with her across Christopher Street, away from home. And the boys crossed the street too. But then they turned, moving back from the direction they had come. And 2 doors down, I got a bagel, and she kept walking.
Please keep an open mind. Please recognize that hearts exist in many different kinds. We are all the same. We know love and hate. We have the power to choose which side to take. Try seeing other sides. Try walking in the shoes of those who struggle to feel pride. We are all the same. We know love and hate. We have the power to choose which side to take. Love in spite of fear. Love until the lines that come between us disappear. We are all the same. We know love and hate. We have the power to choose which side to take. Please try. Love. Please try 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 love.
I promise you, she did not need my help. You don't reach adulthood as a trans person or a drag queen, even in New York City, without knowing how to protect yourself physically and emotionally. So I didn't need to show her my support. But if you don't need, you have a choice. In the tiniest way, I felt like I let her know she was part of my community, a valued part of my community. And at that moment, I think it was enough for her, but also for those 2 boys. Still, on Christopher Street, once called the gayest street in America, a block from the Stonewall Inn in 2009, if she can't walk in peace there, how far have we really come? On Chicago Avenue and East 38th Street in Minneapolis, on Memorial Day, 2020, if a black man can't live through being arrested there. How far have we come? I don't imagine you can reach adulthood as a person of color in America without knowing how to protect yourself physically and emotionally. I don't believe the Black community needs my help to define their movement or demand change. But I believe they want to know that they are a valued part of my community, a community I choose to be included among, if they'll have me. And I believe that those who still cling to the systems of institutional bias also need to know that people of color are a valued part of this white woman's community. I want you to know that Kate and we did not consult before today, so I did not know that she had chosen the same quote that I had, but I think it's brilliant, so I'm going to go ahead and say it again. In his second inaugural address, President Obama said, "We the people declare today that the most evident of truths, that all of us are created equal, is the star that guides us still, just as it guided our forebears through Seneca Falls and Selma and Stonewall. He sews a thread through women's rights and civil rights and LGBTQ rights that ties us all together. Because women don't have equality unless women of color and trans women share that equality. Because people of color don't have equality unless gay people of color and immigrants of color share that equality. Because LGBTQ plus folks don't have equality unless gay parents of color and trans members of the military share that equality. And none of that, not one tiny bit of that, takes any rights from anybody. Now the thing is, comfortable, happy, heterosexual white people like me, we have that equality. We have those rights. We don't have a need. We don't need to march for justice. We don't need to demonstrate for equality. But we get to choose to do so, at least for this moment. We are not dismissed by the way we look. We are not marginalized in the way we are treated. But we can choose to be a part of and among those who are. I know you are not all activists. You're not all warriors. Maybe you don't even like to speak up. Still, we can recognize that our lives are entwined with other lives, and we can value those lives as we value our own. And we can see that we are all better off when we are all better off.
And my mother never thought my daughter would still fight to speak her mind, to have a say in her own civil rights. When men declare her voice categorically dismissed, there will always be women who persist. There will always be women who persist. There will always be women who persist. architects of their own dreams. Was this part of the plan? For every thug who guards the gate with a raised, clenched fist, there will always be men who coexist. There will always be, there will always be men who coexist. There will always be, there will always be men who coexist. One misguided spark falls on tinder to ignite a raging fire growing much too big to fight. Malicious mobs may tattoo numbers onto wrists. There will always be angels in our midst. There will always be, there will always be angels in our midst. There will always be, there will always be angels in our midst. Be a woman who persists, be a man who coexists, be an angel, be an angel, be an angel in our midst. There will always be, 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 there will always be angels in our midst. Fortunately, most of us don't have a need, but we get a choice. And if you have a choice, please choose love. Please choose inclusion. Choose to ask how you can serve and help. Choose to listen. And choose to walk with or walk behind those who need.
Thank you, Christine and Aidan. That was a wonderful program. And now, though we extinguish our chalice flame, we carry within us what we have kindled. The light of inspiration, the warmth of compassion, the fire of commitment. May we bring these gifts into our lives and share them radiantly out into the world. I invite you to join me now in our community blessing with these words from David Bumbaugh. This church is dedicated to the proposition that behind all our differences and beneath all our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together in spite of time, death, and the space between the stars. We pause now in silent witness to that unity.
This is my heart, still warm and beating, placed in your hands for safekeeping. Please be kind, be forgiving.